What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review. And today we are talking about 2017's Jumanji. Welcome to the jungle. There's no fun and games. In the whole movie, I was like, where is Welcome to the Jungle? Like, how'd they get that into the title, but they don't have that song? And then, of course, it plays over the credits. And I was like, okay. Welcome to the jungle. Na 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 na. Knees. If you know, you know. And you can just picture Jack Black singing it, can you not? But, you know, this movie, just about 2 hours, it's pretty good runtime. And of course, it's like the Jumanji movie from my childhood with Robin Williams, but like not as creepy. I remember that movie, but I also feel like I have some trauma against that movie, and like I haven't gone back to watch it. Movies like Jumanji with Robin Williams and like Zootopia, if you guys know, like those movies were good, but also bad, but also scary for a kid, you know, to be watching on cable as a child. I don't know. I really don't remember when those movies happened, but I feel like it was at least maybe 2 decades ago when I watched them. But, you know, we're closing in on now almost a decade ago the Jumanji 1 came out. And of course, this movie is from director Jake Kasdan, and he has done 10 other movies he's directed. It says he's acted in a few things, not much. Some of his own movies, maybe. It seems like he's writing the next Jumanji movie. He wrote Jumanji: The Next Level as well, and I actually quite like that film. But either way, he's directed things like the Dewey Cox Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story with John C. Reilly, which was very funny. He did Sex Tape, which was in 2014 with Jason Segel and Cameron Diaz. I kind of like that movie as well. He did Bad Teacher. I believe that was with Cameron Diaz as well. He did Red One, that came out in 2024. That was with Dwayne and Chris Evans and Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons. Interesting. But so it seems like he's worked with, you know, Cameron Diaz quite a bit. He's worked with now The Rock a little bit. And now he's doing yet another Jumanji movie. So it seems like he directed the first Jumanji. He did Jumanji: The Next Level, which I think is honestly a better movie, but it might just be because it's funnier and it introduces Awkwafina into the mix. And, you know, people like Danny DeVito and Danny Glover, you know, the two Dannys. Oh, and this director also worked with Jack Black on a movie called Orange County back in 2002. So it seems like he's worked around these guys quite a bit, and they were like, hey, I like working with this guy. Let's do another one, you know? But it's kind of funny too, because on his Letterboxd here, it says he directed the first 2 Jumanjis, but it says he's also working on Jumanji 4, the final level. But it's also listed as Jumanji 3, which is supposed to be coming, I think, Christmas this year of 2026. But if this is Jumanji 4, I mean, technically in this movie, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, they do vaguely mention, you know, in Nick Jonas's character, who's also been stranded in the game, he vaguely mentions a guy's house named Alan Parrish or something like that, who he's been living in. You know, he's like, this isn't my house, I'm just living in it, you know? But it kind of, you know, almost sounds like that same Jumanji from Robin Williams is this same game that they're caught in this 2017 movie. You know, so technically, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is the second Jumanji movie, so maybe it is the 4th, but technically the 3rd of this new trilogy with The Rock and the new people. But man, oh man, like, as far as a movie, like, in the characters, I find it very funny because Dwayne and Kevin Hart and Jack Black obviously bouncing off of each other is hilarious. And then you also have Karen Gillan in there. She works very well with humor because she worked with the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, and that had a bunch of funny people on set. Rhys Darby was in there as Nigel Billingsley, and he's only in there as a small part. Bobby Cannavale was like the villain of this movie, and like he has a smaller role too, but still kind of good. Oh my goodness, I didn't even... So, the high schoolers in this movie are played by Alex Wolff, who's Spencer, Sir Darius Blain, who plays Fridge, Madison Iseman, who plays Bethany, and Morgan Turner, who plays Martha. And, like, those are the 4 high school kids that get sucked into this game and then are played by Dwayne, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. But it's very funny because, like, those actors are big and famous, but they're playing these high school kids that each have like these quirky personalities. One of them's a huge nerd, one of them's a football jock, and the football jock, who's big and his nickname's Fridge, ends up becoming Mouse, who is the tiniest of the bunch, Kevin Hart. And then, you know, the nerdy skinny kid becomes the big strong Dwayne Johnson, Dr. Smoldering Bravestone. He just smoldered intensely. And then Karen Gillan is Ruby Roundhouse. And then poor Bethany ends up being Jack Black, Professor Shelley Oberon, but Shelley is short for Sheldon. So, you know, they're all like pretty much, you know, at least the same gender, but then Jack Black is a woman, you know, a super hot blonde playing now this fat, overweight white guy. She's like, you know, experiencing a penis for the first time. She's peeing. She's like, oh my God, this is so much easier. This is what you guys deal with? This is crazy. You know, like, and Jack Black doing his best, like, girl impersonating is so funny. But then also, like, Dwayne and Kevin Hart bouncing off each other are very funny, as always. They've done quite a few movies together at this point. But Dwayne, you know, it's actually some of his better work, where, like, he's not just being The Rock the whole time. Like, you kind of buy into the fact that Dwayne is being Spencer, you know, and I also thought it was funny. I was just looking at it. Spencer is played by Alex Wolff, and that name, I was like, how do I recognize him? And I recognize his face, and he's been in some other things. He was in Old, he was in Pig with Nicolas Cage, he was in Hereditary, so it seems like he's been in some horror-esque movies, but it says he was also in the Naked Brothers Band with his brother Nate, and so Nate Wolff, I think I recognized as well. But I think his older brother here is dating Billie Eilish, which, like, good for him. And I think his older brother was also in this show. It was on Amazon Prime, I think. I think it was called, like, The Consultant or something. I could be wrong. But I feel like I'm not. It's funny. Anytime I feel like I go, I'm not sure about that, maybe that's correct information. I feel like I pull that information out of my ass, but then it's always correct. Not always, but my percentage is pretty high. like I feel like if any of you watching my videos ever, like, Google fact checked me, and then you're like, oh shit, it's probably right, you know? Like, but then there's also Nick Jonas in here as Jefferson Seaplane McDonough, and he is quite funny because he ends up being like this older guy who is what's the character's name? Alex. And it's funny because Alex was sucked into the game, you know, years before, and there was like a creepy house where their parents, you know, lost their son and they were super depressed, so they never took care of the house, so the house was run down. But then when, at the end of the movie, when the kids come back and they get out of the game, they're walking down the street and they're like, huh, creepy house isn't creepy. And then a family pulls up for Christmas and they're all walking in the door with a Christmas tree and stuff, and Colin Hanks plays Alex, but as the older version now, right? So Nick Jonas is only the video game version, but Alex is like, oh my God, you guys saved my life, and I got popped out right at the moment I got sucked in. So, you know, they changed the past type of thing. So I wonder if you know, any time travel type of rules there. I wonder if they messed up the past, and, you know, it will affect the future somehow. I don't know. Time travel is always weird. But either way, they saved this guy's life, and he's now an adult, and he's handsome, and he's got a family, and he's like, yeah, this is my son Andy, and my daughter over there I named Bethany after the girl who saved me. And it was like the one line in the movie that made me tear up a little bit, and I was like, that was sweet. You know, like, God, I'm a sucker for a love story, but I'm also a sucker for something with heart, you know, just a little bit of heart. But just to wrap it up here, the little synopsis on Letterboxd reads, the game has evolved. 4 teenagers in detention discover an old video game console with a game they've never heard of. When they decide to play, they are immediately sucked into the jungle world of Jumanji in the bodies of their avatars. They'll have to complete the adventure of their lives, filled with fun, thrills, and danger, or be stuck in the game forever. So, like, honestly, a pretty cool sounding video game, but also, like, you die in the game, you die for real. So, like, either beat the game or get stuck in the game, and that's what happened to poor Alex. He had lost 2 of his lives, and he was too afraid to go beat the game and die for real, so he just stayed there for 20 years, you know what I mean? Like, that's a long time to be stuck in a video game and just, like, scared not to beat it. Like, come on. But yeah, I know the feeling. You got that last life, and you don't want to lose it. You're like, no. But overall, for me, I think I gave this film 3.5 out of 5 stars, about a 7 out of 10. I think that's the proper score for it. And, you know, if I had to give it a true 10 score, it's probably like a 7.2, 7.3 maybe. You know, not too high, but not, you know, quite a 6. But definitely in that 7 range for me, but definitely not close to an 8. 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think that's my true score for this film. And I think I like the second one even more. And it might not be a better movie, but it's funny as hell. And it makes me laugh, and I have fond memories of it, although I don't remember it. So it must have been at least a few years since I've seen it. So I'm glad that I watched Jumanji 1 here, and maybe we'll go and watch Jumanji The Next Level soon, or maybe we'll wait until around Christmas time, and we'll do a little bit of like a Jumanji rewatch before we head into watching that. Christmas Day, I think, is when the third one comes out. I think it was supposed to come out December 11th, and it got moved back till Christmas, which is the week after Avengers Doomsday in Dune Part 3 drops. So maybe Jumanji 3 ends up getting bounced to 2027, but, you know, I would have think the before those movies would have been the safer play, but maybe Jumanji gets moved to Christmas, and then maybe Avengers Doomsday moves up to like December 11th. Then they can get a couple of weeks of, you know, maybe 2 weeks of IMAX theaters, plus they have 2 weeks of like really on their own, nobody else really in theaters except for them, and then December 17th or 18th, whatever day it is, Dune Part 3 drops, and then from there, you know, that movie has its IMAX release and does its thing, but maybe doesn't compete as much with Avengers Doomsday, where right now, currently, they're both dropping on the same day, which is nuts. And then the following week on Christmas, we have Jumanji the 3 and a werewolf film from Robert Eggers. So like just a crazy busy year for movies and TV, and a lot's been going on. And if you guys check out this movie review, there's also a ton of television breakdowns for like Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and like Monarch Legacy of the Monsters on Apple TV Plus. There might also be breakdowns for The Boys and Invincible Season 4 and 5 coming out soon. And there's also some breakdowns for Star Wars animated show Maul Shadow Lord that just came out yesterday. So go check that out if you haven't. Or maybe that came out later today, because if this video drops on Tuesday, maybe Tuesday night the Maul video drops. Or if it drops Wednesday, maybe Wednesday night the Daredevil videos drop. So either way, go check out the other videos on my channel. I highly appreciate it. And I would love to hear your thoughts about everything we talked about in this video, especially about this movie. And are you excited for Jumanji 3? Or is it technically Jumanji 4? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send them to me on my other social medias. Links for those down in the description below. Or you can comment your message below, and I'd love to chat more with you. And that's a great way to support the channel. But if you'd like to support the channel further, the best way of doing that is liking this video, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam, and I'll see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace.